Born Jan Lee. The daughter of the all-inspiring Marvel Comics Stan Lee. Jan died just 3 days after her birth, and as her family and whole universe mourned her death, so much to such the extent Mr. and Mrs. Death of the Netherlands took notice. Death and Lady Death adopt her as their own. Death's compassion towards the little one flourishes as they take notice of how Jan begins to age normal into a young lady, all while still just being a spirit energy inside of the netherworld. This was an anomaly either one of the two had never witnessed before. After Death gains knowledge of Lady Death's affair with Thanos, Death decides to take revenge, focusing his attention on Jan and taking under his wing, teaching her the art of death so that she may return to the Earth realm and slay Thanos for his antics with Lady Death. Teaching vengeance can be a selfish act of retaliation, but if born out of viciousness, it can be a lesson we are cursed to teach but will obtain inner peace after the ramification of our actions play out. As Death takes his own advice and his fury and rage calms, he realizes his own pain cannot be the life burden of Jan's existence, so he casts the djinn of revenge out of himself and her and begins to teach Jan the art of life as well. With great understanding comes great self-discipline, is what is taught during this transition. His words inspire as Death proclaims to Jan, the balance within your resonance is of vital importance, if you are to return to the world of the living. As he says this, Jan's eyes widen. As now she is given a renewed form of faith and hope, as this only leads to deepened focus that vibrates down to her root core. As Death teaches, she proves her ability to sustain focus and composure early on, to keep emotions neutral and level-minded, as to not let her abilities be manipulated by uncontrolled emotion, which would lead to her gifts overruling her and it bring great, undeserved harm to others around her. She establishes this through not allowing the adrenaline to make her overreact on her decisions, keeping awareness of her surroundings, her space, patience, timing, breathing, and ancient finger-weaving techniques, mudras, and a cast of other hidden knowledge only the people of the Toltec Empire had once known. With this, he teaches her the power of touch and persuasion. This is not to be used if enraged, Death proclaims, as a persuasive touch within human form engulfed with rage can turn to the touch of death. You will regret the outcome of your actions, as the djinn of anger will leave you to your own devices after you have done their will, as they whisper devious intent in your ear. He repeats, you must charm them, then makes her repeat this throughout this whole sequence of her training over and over again to ensure her mind and actions correlate with one another. Jan is also taught the art of manipulating the matter around her. With this you will create a mosaic of matter, he expresses. As her focus deepens, she is able to take a pile of bones and assemble them perfectly. She then commands as she makes the fleshless figure to march. As the bones begin assembled, they stand upright and begin to march, but with each step the skeleton losing fragments of itself until she loses focus in the moment and the bones crumble to the ground. Death is beside himself as she shows immense potential with how quick she learns an ability to focus. As all this plays out, Lady Death grows jealous of her own daughter and questions Death, why now do you remorse over a soul when you have taken so many before her? She pleads, what is so special about her? Perhaps Death himself had second-guessed his actions, considering he had made a mistake. As his normal body count here on Earth and this universe has become less and less, as his focus has been more and more on teaching Jan the dark and light arts. Lady Death cannot take the change in her eternity and forces Death to banish her from the netherworld. As Death fully realizes his focus has become unbalanced and he agrees to send her off. Death gives Jan 2 more gifts, key gift that will help her on her way. She will return in the age she has become till this point, a young lady, and also most important, she acquires the soul stone from Death. Cutscene, to EMS doing CPR on a girl who just drowned, call her time of death after finding no pulse and numerous attempts to revive. Just before her departure of the Netherlands, Jan hugs Death's, almost hugging herself as she wraps her arms around his almost non-existent frame, and she thanks him for everything. Death reminds her it was her will that made this all possible, as he also thanks her for reminding him what it felt like to be a human being. He pulls out a glowing orange stone and says, this is your ticket out, my child. Swallow this and you will wake back with the living. He wishes her a safe passage as she swallows the stone and begins to choke on it, violently dropping to her knees and passing out on the cold, dark floor. Cutscene to the lifeless body of the little girl that just drowned. Now having the white sheet pulled up over her head as the family of the girl cries and mourn her passing with great sadness and in disbelief. Within moments Jan's eyes jolt open, after seeing a bright blue and white light. She starts coughing and convulsing under sheet. As she leans over, coughing harder, she throws up the bright orangish-colored stone. The EMT and the family stand frozen in shock for a few moments, not realizing what or how she came to after what felt like the longest 5 minutes they had ever experienced. They snap out of it quickly and begin rejoicing from her coming back to them. The main EMT that worked on her proclaims, "The prodigal daughter is returned." Jan remains in a state of shock herself, with no true clear understanding of what she is experiencing at the moment due to the trauma of her current body has been put through and the drain of spiritual travel. Her memory is nothing more but vivid shards of glass scattered throughout her mind. She falls into a 6-day coma, but then, on the 7th day, she awakens. With just herself in the room, she tries to get out of bed and stand up, but then realizes after a few dozen attempts she has the will but not yet the strength yet, as her body is in too weak of a state to move, much less walk. So she then manages to sit up in her bed, looking at herself for the very first time into this oversized mirror on the wall in front of her bed. For several minutes the mirror gazes right back at her. She cannot help the flood of emotions that fill her now with more life as she reaches to feels her neck, where someone has put a black choker on her, with the orange stone as the centerpiece. After gazing into the mirror, she lays back and rests her head, confused and trying to make sense of the moments passing so quickly by her, but then in an instant, she smirks, as she suddenly has a sense of purpose and gains a sensations of calm, and now is just eager and determined to discover why she has chosen to be here. Till she rests now to gains her strength to explore this world she was never truly part of but now has returned to, and so begins the epic journey of Jan Lee Lieber, aka MOSAIC CHARM.
R.I.P. Stan Lee Martin Lieber. This is my rendition. The universe I'm creating, inviting anybody who wants to throw in their versions of their people. But this is my first attempt at a superhero. My first attempt at creating a universe run parallel to running the MCU or the multiverse. And dubbing it OMNIEXCELSIOR. Y'all MCU fans know exactly. Excelsior, I just added on the Omni. Again, everything always upwards. So you can do your research, check it out. Contact me, leave a comment on the bottom, subscribe, share, hate, do whatever you want to do. I felt when I researched Stan Lee's life, her character kind of fits into this. Again, taking some of the MCU's sort of untalked about or real quick mentions of certain events that had gone on. Again, going back to the Thanos thing, going from Endgames back into the comic books, where he actually has a thing with Lady Death, trying to tie in certain things. One thing you might want to notice on the picture here, Stan Lee's, one of his favorite things was, he would always say is enough said. Again, going in, and when you really look at the relationship he had with his wife, they were very, very much two very, high-strung individuals. She would say something wisecrack, he would come back with a wisecrack. There was always a back and forth wittiness. So all I did was kind of invert it, kind of give her mom's wittiness. So instead of saying enough said, giving a little attitude to it, said enough, and then she takes action. So give me a kind of rating, what you think about this character. She's my very first one. Again, I'm basing it up kind of off the whole scenario about Stan Lee. That was actually a real story. They did have two daughters. I believe it was the second one that had passed away, which was, they were going to name her Jan Lee. And again, his last name really being Lieber, which in Latin translates to deer. So I was going to work another story plot into that one, intertwining it with Bambi, but I decided to pull back on it, and I felt it was too much. What I have right here is just kind of a basic understanding And again, you might want to look a little bit closer. I'm gonna go ahead and head in here. Again, if you want to, you can kind of see a little bit closer into it. I still got Stan Lee in the background and Cosmos. And she don't have a whole lot of details. This is just a basic sketch up just to kind of get people's opinions on. Again, this is my first attempt at even trying to do anything like this. But like to get some feedback, especially y'all hardcore MCU fans, y'all DC fans. I'm sending this already up to Marvel, even just attempting to try to do something out and shoot for the stars. I'm not expecting anything back, really a word from them, but if anything does happen, you know, hopefully they give me credit for it, or if they haven't already worked her into it. There's a lot of speculation that maybe Captain Marvel might have been in a rendition of Jan herself, and actually her name MOSAIC CHARM. There was 10. If y'all really get into it, there was 10 superheroes that Stan created that never really went anywhere. One of them was called MOSAIC. Her backstory was pretty interesting. I believe she had like a cut, and then she got her superpowers through that wound, and she was able to climb walls, you know, shapeshift, I believe, and do all this other stuff. Really, out of those 10, she had the most superpowers out of all of them. So maybe in my mind, I kind of figured that was his way of trying to create her, but maybe he wasn't in the right mind state. The backstory on that one was there was reptile shapeshifters, and again, y'all conspiracy theorists know all about the shapeshifting reptiles, and they even made the scrolls, you know, in the MCU. So the little goblin people or you know, gnomes, I forgot what you call them. Anyways, dwarfs? I don't know. That's wrong. Anyways, so basically taking a lot of the MCU universe, applying it to this new universe that I'm creating. Again, I welcome anybody to come and throw in their version of their superheroes, and I would really suggest maybe making it something personal to you or something personal to the MCU or DC. Now that everything's really kind of colliding, these multiverses running parallel to each other, and they're still figuring everything out. Now with this COVID, stuff's kind of on hold. So again, this is my rendition, my very first character. I'm gonna run with it, see where it takes it. I have another 2 more characters in line that I'm gonna be making here. So again, please leave your comments. Let me know what you think of the storyline. It was very basic. Took me, you know, about a couple of days to really pan out. I had the idea right away, but sometimes things like that really you want to sleep on certain things, and you don't want to put out something right away real quick, because it doesn't always come out the way it needs to. So yeah, it kind of took me about a span of 3 days of finally getting to post it. So check it out. Let me know what y'all think. Leave a comment, and you know, get in contact with me if this project seems like something you want to get involved with. Again, I'm already sending this up to them, and you know, I'm gonna build it off of that, regardless if anybody responds back or whatnot. So I'm taking it up, you know, and R.I.P. Stan Lee, Martin Lieber, and y'all just keep on doing everything y'all doing right. You know, when you're looking at the bad times, just remember, hey, you know, there's a reason for them. You just gotta find the meaning in that message, in that situation, and take it and run with it. So y'all stay up. OMNIEXCELSIOR. It's your man MT. I'm out.